Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor at Madison365 with your daily update for today, which is Friday, May 21st. We made it another week, and here we are. And the news on the coronavirus front is continues to be pretty good, heading in the right direction in terms of cases and test rates and things. Unfortunately, vaccine distribution is also continues to slow down. But let's get to the numbers. Oh, there's also some, some news about variants, which is a little concerning. So we'll get to that. Today, 406 new cases. So still a lot. Our 7-day average of new cases is 374, which is not terrible. It still feels like kind of several hundred cases a day still feels like a lot to me, but I'm still remembering over a year ago when 300 cases was like a big, huge deal. But that's better than it has been. The best news today is that the positive test rate, the 7-day average of all cases in the past 7 days, all tests in the past 7 days, 2.6 have been positive. 2.6% have been positive. That's down from 2.7 yesterday and 2.8 the day before that. So that is good news. We want that to stay below 3.0. And the lower it goes, the better we are, because that indicates that, first of all, we're testing enough. We're testing enough to catch those cases that maybe aren't symptomatic or that aren't serious or whatever. And then we're catching enough cases that we can do the contact tracing and isolate them and all that. Now, we also report today 8 fatalities. So, we continue to lose people to this virus. We are now 6,986 total fatalities in the state of Wisconsin. However, the 7-day average of deaths reported is 5. But again, these deaths aren't happening on the day that they're reported, right? They're happening locally somewhere, and then the death certificates get put in a state database, and then they go through a whole process of being confirmed and verified. So it can take 2 to 4 weeks. We've had some fatalities reported, months later. So that daily average isn't that indicative of what's happening right now necessarily, but it is nice to see that as a low number. We're talking about vaccines for a minute, and then we'll talk about variants, because the variants is something that we want to hit on. Today, we are now at 40.5% fully vaccinated in the state of Wisconsin. 46.3% of us have gotten at least one shot. Okay. Yesterday it was at 40.1, so 0.4% up since yesterday. Looking at about just over 40,000 vaccines doses given in the past 24 hours. But actually, you know what? The 7-day average is up slightly. It's about steady, actually, but just over 23,000 doses per day past 7 days. Just I hate to be a critic, but it doesn't seem like enough to me. But it is not because of supply. There's plenty of supply, but it's many people have significant barriers to getting to 2 different appointments and to understanding how it works and to getting the language issues. And a lot of people are not getting vaccinated because of the cost, because it's not been fully really communicated that it's free, that you don't need to have insurance. And then a lot of people are hesitant, and a lot of people are just complacent. Just feel like, it's over now, it's fine. So we'll continue to watch those numbers as well. Variants. Let's talk about variants for a second. Now, I don't want to panic about variants. I'm just going to tell you the numbers, which aren't particularly meaningful, really, because they haven't led to a big spike, right? It is because all of these variants are still controlled by the vaccines that we have, right? These are not vaccine-resistant strains or anything like that. So we are concerned about these variants because they seem to be more contagious than original coronavirus. I'm sure there's a better name for that. But in the past couple of months, over the course of the past couple of months, the state has sequenced the genome of about 13,000 positive tests. Of those, 20.5% have been some form of variant. The most common variant is the UK variant, B117. There's also been a handful of South Africa variants, a little over 100 Brazil variant, and then about almost 600 cases of the California variant. So that's 1 out of 5 cases in the past 2 months has been a variant. Here's the problem. Every week, the proportion has gotten higher. Last week, it was like 58% of the cases tested in just that week were a variant. This past week, literally almost all of the cases that we saw in the past week have been some form of variant. We had, but the thing is that they sequenced a smaller number of cases, right? So, so I got to do some math because I'm an English major. I don't do math in my head very well. Okay, 157 cases were sequenced as compared to like 600 the week before. So it's a lower number. But of those 157, 20 were not a variant. 137 out of 157 were some form of variant. So it's almost like the variants aren't really variants anymore. Like they're sort of the norm now, at least for this week. Of those 157 cases, 126 were UK variant. None of them were South Africa variant. 8 were Brazil variant, and 3 were California variant. So I'm frankly not sure what to make of that, because it's important to keep track of, right? Or they wouldn't be reporting it and keeping track of it if it wasn't important. We know that the UK variant actually did lead to a big surge in the United Kingdom. Actually did lead to a big increase in cases around London. Several months ago. But it hasn't translated to a big spike in cases here in Wisconsin yet, which is why I don't want. I want to report this to let you know that we are watching it, but I don't want to make you afraid of it. Get your vaccine, keep your mask on if you don't have your vaccine, and you'll be fine. Don't be scared of the variants, but understand and trust that we are keeping a track of them. And if we do start to see, after June 2nd, like basically all the health orders are done, all the masks are, most of the masks are going to come off. If there's any sort of surge in cases over the summer, it might have something to do with these variants, which is why we're going to keep track of them. I'm optimistic. I think we have enough vaccine done now that there won't be a huge spike after those health orders kind of expire, but we'll see, and we will continue to watch, even if it's basically the same news every day and gets kind of boring for us to do and for you to watch, but it's important to keep track of it. Okay, that's all the coronavirus news for today. I'm going to take a short pause here. We'll hear a word from our sponsors at UW Health, and we'll be back with some really fun and interesting local news that you will definitely want to keep track of, and we'll be back. Don't scroll away right after this.
Here in the Midwest, community is important.
Having a healthcare system that's looking out for us,
that's actively addressing the racial disparities in healthcare is important.
When we can get good quality care,
we can do more. We can achieve more.
We can be the kind of community we want to be, and that's really important.
UW Health. Remarkable medicine. Remarkable care.
All right. Now, if you're in Dane County and you are an artistic person, a creative person, a humanities person. You can get paid to do humanities programming in the libraries next year, especially if you're a person of color. They've had these programs. This is a program called Beyond the Page. It's an organization that works with the libraries across Dane County to do humanities programming in the library. What is humanities programming? It's arts, it's culture, it's history, storytelling, dance, music, cooking, all those kinds of things. This is a photo from a couple years ago. This Beyond the Page is trying hard to diversify this programming. In a story this morning that Angelica Usury did for us, she spoke with Ali Trevino Murphy, who runs this program, who noted that there are 28 public libraries in Dane County, and most of them are in very white communities. So there's an opportunity to bring some diverse culture to those communities. Also, bearing in mind that libraries traditionally cater to a very white audience in those communities. So they've got a grant to build a more diverse roster of humanities presenters and programs next year, 2022. So if you have, and they even said, even if you have a seed of an idea, if in your mind you're like, I like to dance, I can cook Mexican food, anything. I could tell stories about the history of the Hmong migration, whatever it is. Even you don't have to have it fleshed out. This is for 2022. So you apply by June 1st. That's coming up pretty soon. Apply by June 1st, and they will help you flesh out your seed of an idea into a humanities program. And they really they're putting their money where their mouth is in terms of getting more diversity into those programs, which I think is great. Okay, so that story is Angelica did that. Also in the news today, Northwestern Mutual is we had Anthony Hudson and Raquel Famanuez from Northwestern Mutual on a couple months ago talking about their new entrepreneurship investment, or their suite of investment programs, and they're actually now launching this specific investment program in Black-owned startups. And it's going to be not just an investment, but it's going to be really an accelerator program. They have a whole bunch of money to invest in Black-owned startups and then kind of shepherd them through startup phases with resources, courses, classes, mentorship, office space, everything. So that is a really exciting program, and there's a link there if you want to try to get in on that. If you have an idea, if you're starting a business and you're Black or brown, check this story out. Malik Anderson did this story for us, and that has a link directly to get into that pipeline as well. Also today, we have a story, an update on Jimmie Joshua. Excuse me. You'll remember we broke this story back in March. Back in December, he was attacked by these 3 deputies. They threw him to the ground and broke his hip. And then, despite him being clearly severely injured, they put him in an isolation cell and left him there for 15 hours until his fiance finally called and, rustled some feathers and got them to take him to the hospital, where he stayed for 8 days. He was in the hospital for 8 days after that. He's still in jail. It's been alleged, he alleges, that he's not receiving the proper, adequate physical therapy, that he had a walker that he was using and he still needs it, but they took it away and they gave him a cane instead, and he's fallen twice and gone to the hospital again. There's a protest going to be on Sunday calling for his release. It's at 10 a.m. on Sunday down by the public safety building on West Doty Street. They're basically asking the new sheriff, Calvin Barrett, to release him. He does have a revocation hearing on Tuesday, at which a judge could use the discretion to release him to house arrest, so that he could get more adequate treatment. He has filed a federal lawsuit, a civil rights lawsuit against the county. He has retained an attorney for that lawsuit. I spoke with that attorney this morning, and he didn't want to comment at this point, but they're going to be basically filing a new set of filings in the next couple of weeks. So we will have an updated story. But the update we have right now is that there is a protest. There is a community coming out to call on the county to release Jimmie so that he could get better medical care. In happier news, Forward Madison Football Club announced that they are headed toward full capacity by June 6th. There'll be 2 home games, or one more home game before that. This coming Wednesday, they have a home game against Union Omaha. They had already sold a bunch of tickets for that. The new health order, the health order will not have expired yet by that point, so that'll be another crowd of 1,500 or something. But then June 6th, it'll be almost full capacity. They are going to reserve at least 1 or 2 sections for socially distanced seating for those who would prefer that, because there will be some who are not yet vaccinated, who would just feel more comfortable in a socially distanced setting if they're having vulnerabilities or whatever. So Forward Madison is going to reserve some space for that, but the rest of the stadium will be full, which means it's going to be in the 4,000 people range, which could be a lot of fun. That was the atmosphere in 2019 there was pretty electric. So I'm looking forward to that. But that is the news we have for you for today. It is supposed to be a very lovely weekend, so I hope you can get outside and enjoy it with your mask on as appropriate, and if you go indoors, because we're not there yet to get rid of the masks. But we will be back Monday. We'll have the It's Only 10 Minutes podcast in the morning on Monday. And then I'll be back 4 o'clock Monday afternoon with your update at that time. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you again soon.
This is 365 Media.